Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Jays Nation, let me be brutally honest with you, because sometimes the truth needs to arrive without knocking. If you believe the future of the Toronto Blue Jays will be decided solely by a shiny superstar name or a blockbuster headline that explodes across social media, then you're already staring in the wrong direction. While timelines are arguing about home runs, eye-watering contracts, and the next savior in pinstripes or Dodger blue, Toronto have quietly made a move that looks small, almost forgettable, yet carries the faint hum of something far more dangerous. A 5'7" shortstop. Yes, 5'7". And in baseball terms, that detail whispers far louder than it shouts. The real question isn't who the Jays didn't sign. It's whether these subtle moves are simply patchwork repairs or the groundwork for something far bigger and far bolder. Before we go any further, take a second to like this video, share it with a fellow Blue Jays fan, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report. This channel thrives on conversation, not noise, and every new subscriber strengthens this growing community of fans who look beyond the surface. Now let's talk about why this seemingly insignificant signing might actually matter more than most people realize. The Toronto Blue Jays have signed Rafael Lantigua, formerly of the Phillies organization, to a minor league deal with an invitation to spring training. Almost simultaneously, they brought back Eloy Jimenez on a similar low-risk contract. On paper, these are the kinds of moves that barely register, the sort that slip through the news cycle unnoticed, buried beneath speculation and hot takes. But baseball organizations don't operate on coincidence, and when you see two moves like this land together, they begin to sketch a pattern. What's fascinating is that the most intriguing name here might not be the one associated with towering home runs and raw power, but the one most fans dismissed within seconds. Lantigua isn't a hyped prospect. He isn't plastered across highlight reels or crowned as a future cornerstone. He's short, understated, 27 years old, and spent last season grinding away in the Phillies system without fanfare. He doesn't sell jerseys or generate dramatic thumbnails. But baseball has always had a strange habit of hiding its most useful pieces in plain sight. Lantigua plays second base, third base, shortstop, left field, and even designated hitter if needed. He posted a .356 on-base percentage, drew 77 walks, stole 17 bases, and drove in 56 runs without relying on power. That isn't glamour. That's survival. That's adaptability. And right now, Toronto needs that more than it wants to admit. Take a hard look at the Blue Jays' middle infield depth. Beyond Andres Jimenez, Ernie Clement, and Leo Jimenez, the options thin out quickly. Yes, you can improvise. Yes, you can shift players around and hope for the best. But improvisation is a springtime luxury. It might steal you a game in April, but it rarely carries you through September. Championship teams understand that the middle infield is where seasons quietly bleed out. One missed assignment, one rushed throw, one tired leg, and suddenly tight games unravel. Lantigua exists to prevent that slow hemorrhage. He's not here to shine. He's here to stabilize. Now swing the spotlight to the other signing, because Eloy Jimenez tells a different story, but one that fits the same theme. He's 29 years old, built like a wrecking ball, and his career has been punctuated by injuries and frustration. Yet this winter, something changed. He reportedly shed around 20 pounds and spent time playing in the Dominican Winter League. That isn't cosmetic. That's commitment. A player who accepts a minor league deal with a spring training invite isn't chasing comfort. He's fighting for relevance. Toronto have always liked these bets, because the risk is minimal and the reward can be transformative. If Jimenez clicks, the lineup changes overnight. If he doesn't, the cost is negligible. Here's the uncomfortable truth, though, and it needs to be said plainly. These two signings do not solve the Blue Jays' biggest problems. They don't answer every question or guarantee October baseball. What they do is buy time. Time to evaluate. Time to negotiate. Time to decide who stays and who goes. And this is where the whispers many fans are avoiding start to matter. Joey Loperfido. Nathan Lukes. Outfield depth that is quietly piling up without a clear path to everyday playing time. You can't stockpile capable players forever without creating tension. Eventually, the phone rings. And when it does, Toronto need to answer without panic. This is where Lantigua becomes far more than a footnote. He doesn't block anyone. He doesn't demand at-bats. He doesn't bring drama into the clubhouse. He exists as insurance, a pressure release valve that allows the front office to make a bigger move without leaving the roster exposed. If an outfielder is moved for an infielder or a reliever, the internal structure doesn't collapse. That flexibility is priceless, even if it never trends on social media. And there's another layer here, one that reveals itself late in games when margins are razor thin. Picture the 8th inning of a one-run game. A walk. A stolen base. A rushed throw. A defensive miscue forced by speed and awareness. These moments rarely dominate headlines, but they accumulate quietly in the win column. Over the course of a season, they separate contenders from also-rans. Lantigua is the type of player who turns routine innings into discomfort for opponents. He doesn't overwhelm. He irritates. And irritation, in baseball, is a weapon. Let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. Toronto's offensive identity has drifted in recent years. Too much waiting for the long ball. Too little sustained pressure. Too little chaos. Pitchers have grown comfortable. Lantigua represents the opposite philosophy. He stretches at-bats, works counts, and refuses to disappear. He plays like every plate appearance matters, like October has arrived early. When you pair that mentality with a player like Jimenez, desperate to prove he still belongs, a pattern begins to emerge. Toronto are collecting hunger. That is not accidental. Pause here with me for a moment, because this is where perspective matters. What do the Blue Jays gain from these moves? Cheap depth. Defensive versatility. Competition in spring training. Freedom to explore trades without fear. What do they lose? Nothing structural. No premium prospects. No financial flexibility. In other words, minimal risk with real potential upside. That's smart baseball. But there's still an unanswered question hovering over all of this, and it refuses to go away. If the middle infield remains the soft underbelly of this roster, is Lantigua the answer or merely the first layer? I firmly believe it's the latter. Toronto aren't acting like a desperate team scrambling for fixes. They're behaving like a patient organization that understands the market and refuses to overpay in January. Around the league, the best teams do this quietly. They build depth early, then use it as leverage when the moment is right. It's like stacking cards, knowing some are meant to be played and others traded. Naturally, some fans will scoff. They'll say this changes nothing, that the real problems remain untouched. And emotionally, that reaction makes sense. Fans crave immediate impact. Analysts, however, study structure, calendars, and attrition. They know seasons aren't lost when stars fall. They're lost when replacements fail. That's where quiet signings suddenly loom large. Imagine the scenario where Toronto flips surplus outfield depth for a reliable reliever or a more established infielder. The roster balances. The stress points ease. Lantigua becomes the connective tissue, slipping in and out without disrupting anything. He doesn't become famous. He becomes necessary. And sometimes, that's far more valuable. So I'll leave you with this, Jays Nation. Do you want a team that makes one deafening move and leaves itself exposed, or a team that quietly reinforces its foundation and waits for the perfect moment to strike? Because if this signing works, it won't feel dramatic. It will feel inevitable. And if it doesn't, Toronto simply moves on, unharmed. This is the Blue Jays Report. If you enjoyed this breakdown, like the video, share it with someone who lives for roster nuance, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The quiet moves often precede the loud ones, and the next chapter might not whisper at all.